topic. So that is the Newtonian and the non-Newtonian fluids. Or generally here will be categorized even the types of the fluids also. But these are not the complete categorizations of the fluids, but these are also the fluid types categorizations which would be helpful. So here we call this as a Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids are the two types of the fluids, right? So prior discussing about this Newtonian and the non-Newtonian fluids, we even wish to know about this dynamic and the kinematic viscosity. But prior to that one, what is the viscosity is actually? So what is the viscosity is actually? So viscosity is the property of the fluid. Viscosity is the property of the fluids which offer resistance to the motion. Viscosity is the property of the fluid which offers resistance to the motion of the fluid. So that means it will not allow, it will try to restrict that particular fluid motion. Always it will say go for rest, go for rest. So that means it is restricting that particular fluid motion not to go for any motion, right? So that is the property of the viscosity. Then what exactly this dynamic viscosity and the kinematic viscosity makes a difference in between these two? Or what is the difference between the dynamic and the kinematic viscosity? Okay, so let us discuss about the viscosity first. Then we'll clearly know about what exactly the Newtonian and the non-Newtonian fluids, how they are being defined or how they are being classified or categorized in this. So as we all know that the viscosity is a property of the fluid which offers resistance to the fluid motion. This has been given you from your, I think, from your 10th level or in your 10+2 level. So this is what the definition, basic definitions of the viscosity is. Now we'll make it little bit extensions here in this one. But see what exactly the viscosity means. We are saying it's a property of the fluids which offer resistance to the motion of the fluid, right? So what exactly why it is offering resistance to the fluid? So what the fluid properties or what the fluid is existing in that one? So what is the fluid type it is having in between that, or what are the fluid molecules that are happening inside actually? So that we have to understand. So what exactly the viscosity is? We know that whenever the fluid is at rest, that is called as a fluid statics, and whenever the fluid is in motion, that is called as a fluid dynamics. This we are very clear about it. Now when the fluid is at rest, if both your hands are at rest and they are not rubbing, will there be any shear stress generated in between the hands?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
No.
No, right? Fine. And when the shear stress would be developed?
When the hands will be rubbed against each other.
Yes. So when you are making a movement from one solid surface over the other solid surface, when I'm making a movement like this, so that means there is a shear happening. So you just see when you closely examine my palm, because when I'm closely and very hardly rubbing on each other, this is what the shear happening on my surface of the palm. Let's see another example or better understanding of the shear stress here in this one, right? So the better understanding of the shear stress in this one. So you just see. So what I have done is I have taken the bottom is a flat surface and the top I am making it as a moving plate. Top I am making it as a moving plate. So that let us say that is your hand only. That's your hand only, right? So but I can't say that the hand is completely flat surface. So that is the reason I have kept a flat plate over that. So on the bottom it is a solid surface which is a fixed surface, and in between. So let me annote here. So in between this one, so we have kept some fluid inside. So this is how it is actually. It is how it is actually is. So the bottom of the surface, bottom it is a solid surface, and top we have, bottom it is a solid surface, and top we have a flat plate. Initially it is at rest. So when it is at rest, this is how your moving plate force is being acting on it. That is when the plate is at rest. And when actually if you see this red line, so initially the fluid at rest, and when I start moving this flat plate, when I'm moving the flat plate over the water surface, so the fluid is getting deformed from 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3. So this is how it is changing from here. So initially it is at the 0.1, right? So then it is again moved to the 0.2, then again it has moved to 0.3. So that means as your flat plate is moving, so there is some deformation is happening on that fluid. There is some deformation happening on the fluid. Okay, so that is what actually happening phenomena in this one, right? So that we call it as a shear stress. Now let us start measuring about this one. So what we have initially taken it. So what we have initially taken is, so we have initially taken a distance in between the two flat plates. We have taken a distance in between the flat plate. So that distance is of y. So let us say from top to the bottom. So let us say from top to the bottom we have taken initially a height of y here in this one. So I have taken a distance separated from the fixed surface to the moving plate at a distance of y. So that is in between the two fixed surface and the moving plate, the distance is y. And in between that I have filled with a fluid. And when the plate started moving from one surface to the other surface, when the plate started moving on the surface of the fluid, so when I have noticed one point and I have named it as initially at the position is 1. And when the flat plate is moving, I have seen that particle has disturbed and got a new position that is 0.2, and it has placed to the new position that is 0.3. So that means when the plate is in motion, so the points or the fluid is getting distorted. At the same time, my angle is also varying here in this one. The particle angle is also varying. So when I'm moving this particular flat plate in this direction. Lubrication, hydraulic oils.
Used in ships.
Okay, one has heard about the ship. Okay, fine, good, no problem. Any other hydraulic oil or the lubricants, lubes. People will be calling it as the lubes. And how many of you know about the lubricants? So generally at the petrol pumps, they will be selling the lubricants. And where these lubricants will be used?
In engine.
Engines, very good. See, in engines there are moving parts, just like this. And when two solids rub each other, what happens? When two solids
Friction.
continuously rub each other,
Friction.
Shear stress is developed or friction is
shear
developed.
stress is developed. But we said that solid to solid interaction. So there is no shear possible. So what it will do, it will start wearing and tearing. So when you continuously rub in between the two solids, what happens? The solid will start interfering, and the heat will be generated. That the shear stress, it will try to make it, but there is no possible shear stress. Every time it will say that both are solids, why I will not get deformed. It will say that the solid will say that I'm not going to get deformed. Both will rub continuously. After a certain time, what happens? We don't see that one solid will be completely eroded.
Yes,
So
sir.
for an easy movement and solid contact, what we will do, very negligible gap we will keep it in between these two, and here I'll try to fill with an oil. So in that case what happens, the heat will not be transferred so high, the heat transfer will be getting reduced. When the heat is not transferred such a high level, so it will start reducing the heat level in between the two bodies. So that means it will reduce the wear and tear in between that. It will reduce the wear and tear in between that. So that is actually called as a lubricant. Its function in that one is a lubricant. So it is acting like a lubricant in that, right? So, and another example is bearings. Why do we go for the bearings, right? Why do we go for the bearings in that one? And why engine oil is required, where it is required in between the moving parts? So that means there the fluids have been taken advantage. So that means the shear stress is being taken by the fluid and solid is being protected to some extent, right? So that is the reason every time we suggest, after these many hours of the engine run, please replace your engine oil, because all the solid particles will get accumulated in that engine oil. And you just see, when we are pouring the engine oil, it is very clean and neat, and when we are collecting the engine oil, it is completely dusty, or it will be completely filled with the solid particles. So that means there is some erosion happening in between that, right? So see, another example is when I have a cylinder, and inside the cylinder I want to place it exactly matching the internal diameter cylinder. So you are trying to design a car, and you have a shaft connected with the two wheels, and that shaft holding cylinder is also just it's matched with an internal diameter of it. Will it be smoothly moving? The car wheels?
No.
No.
Yes.
Semi-solid. So whenever there is a two solid movement, we'll apply some greasing in between. So that in your day-to-day lives also many places will be using the grease in between that. So the motor pumps where continuous running is happening, that the bearings not to get eroded. So that it will make that okay smoothly, it will move up and move down. Right. So that is a taking advantage. So that is advantage of the shear stress. So if you are familiar with the shear stress, so we'll move further. Yes. So you can see a better understanding here on this image. So when we are talking about the shear stress definition, so now can we say that the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient? Is the shear stress proportional to the velocity gradient? Because as the shear is happening, accordingly the fluid layer will be started moving. As the shear is happening, the fluid is accordingly moving from the surface. So the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. Do you agree with my statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it the shearing effect is directly
Yes,
proportional
sir.
to the velocity gradient? If you apply more velocity, more the shear happens. If you apply less velocity, less the shear will be happening. When your dy is equal to 0, the tau will become infinity. So that means the shear stress in between, shear stress which is directly proportional in between. So that means the shear stress here it is defined for only fluids. When the velocity is 0, what about the shear stress? Fluids. So we are talking about the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. Sorry. So how do we define this exactly in the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids? So in the previous class we have discussed about the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. So that is tau is proportional to the du by dy. So when tau is directly proportional to the velocity gradient, so how do we link up this? So how do we link up this velocity gradient to the shear stress? We have already mentioned that they are directly related. So in order to give a substitution in between that, to remove that proportionality, as every fluid has its own property, every fluid has its own property, so it has its own viscosity even. So here the proportionality, so the proportionality will be equated with a constant of mu. So then our equation of the tau will become, like, so tau is equivalent to the mu into du by dy. So where the mu stands for coefficient of viscosity, or people will be calling even it as coefficient of the dynamic viscosity. So as the tau is not dependent on the, as the tau is not independent, but it is dependent on the fluids. So here every time when we discuss about the shear stress, it is dependent on the property of the fluid. So the proportionality is removed by multiplying with the constant of fluid property, so that it is coefficient of viscosity. Now how do we define the Newtonian laws of viscosity? And what is the Newtonian laws of viscosity states is that when the fluid obeys the Newtonian laws of viscosity, it is called Newtonian fluids. So what exactly the Newtonian law states? So the Newtonian law states that, so as the shear stress and the velocity gradient, shear stress and the horizontal scale and velocity gradient on the vertical scale states that the fluid properties which obeys the Newtonian laws of viscosity are called Newtonian fluids, and shear stress on the vertical scale and the velocity gradient on the horizontal scale. When we have the linear relationship in between these two, so that is the shear stress and the velocity gradient, they are called as the Newtonian fluids. The examples of the Newtonian fluids are air, water, kerosene, alcohol. These are all and some examples which are proportionate. So that means the angle between the shear stress and the velocity gradient is directly proportional. So they are linear in curvature, that we are going to see in the next slide how they are linearly proportional to each other. So when they are moving on that particular line of inclination, then it is obeying the Newtonian laws of viscosity. And it has got deviated from that straight line which is equally inclined in between the shear stress and the velocity gradient, that it is called as a non-Newtonian fluids. Now, what are the non-Newtonian fluids? Sorry. So the fluids which does not obey the Newtonian laws of viscosity. So what exactly this laws of Newtonian states that when your shear stress and the velocity gradient are not proportional. So that means other than the equal distance, that is the other than the linear line, when it is going away from this one, then they are categorized as a non-Newtonian fluids. So these Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids are being defined based upon their properties of the viscosity. So that the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids based upon the properties of the fluids, and here so that tau is equal to mu into du by dy. So when it is a linear relationship in between the velocity gradient and the shear stress, they are called Newtonian fluids. And when they are not maintaining a linear relationship, so that means the curve is non-linear in nature. So these are all experimentally predicted. So the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. So basically this is dependent upon the velocity gradient and the shear stress characteristics, which we are going to see it in the next slide. So to discuss about this Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids, so which obey Newton's law of viscosity are called Newtonian fluids, which does not obey Newton's law of viscosity, they are called non-Newtonian fluids. So let us see the characteristic variation of this one. So here in this image you can see there is a horizontal scale, the rate of shear, and on the vertical scale we have the shear stress. So when we are having horizontal scale of rate of shear and vertical scale with the shear stress, when the fluid or the behavior of the fluid is exactly on this line, either see, when it is exactly on this line, you can see the blue line, right? So when they are able to see this blue line,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
yes, fine. So when it is exactly proportional, so the shear stress and the rate of shear are proportional to each other, then it is called Newtonian fluids. When they are proportional, then they are called Newtonian fluids. And when this proportionality, so that means the curve is linear or non-linear for Newtonian fluids. Is it linear curve or non-linear curve? It's a linear curve. It's a linear curve. Very good. Very good.
Linear curve.
Very good. So it is a linear curve. So when the fluid properties, that means shear stress and the rate of shear stress, they are exactly proportional. They are proportional to each other, and when they are moving along this line, so then it is called as a Newtonian fluids. That means the proportionality should exist in between the shear stress and the rate of shear. Now the next question comes, sir, if it is not on that line, then we have, yes, anyone please, if it is not on the Newtonian lines?
Non-Newtonian fluid.
Non-Newtonian. Very good and simple to understand. When it is deviated from this line and it is not a linear line, then it is a non-Newtonian fluid. Right? So either it can be on the bottom side like this, also it can be, or it can be on the top side like this, right? Or it can be even follow like this, right? Whatever the lines or whatever the characteristic behavior of the fluid, other than the proportionality, they are not obeying the Newton's law of viscosity, then it is called as a non-Newtonian fluids. But in non-Newtonian fluids, again the fluids have been categorized as, when the characteristic behavior, see, I want you all to be attentive here and understand. It is very easy. See, when a fluid rate of shear is increasing, see on this horizontal scale, when the rate of shear is increasing, is it the resultant shear stress is very high or low for these diluent fluids?
Low.
When the rate of shear stress is increasing for the diluent fluids, so is it the shear stress is increasing for this along this curve?
not so gradually.
Along this curve, for when we call diluent fluids, that means below the characteristics of the Newtonian fluids. So that means they don't exhibit much of the shear stress characteristics. So they don't exhibit the stress behavior. So then it is called as a diluent fluids. Now, for little bit of shear, for very small shear that it is exhibiting. So for a small shear that is exhibited, so that is a velocity gradient. So the velocity gradient, when a small velocity gradient, see the shear stress has rises like anything. So for this line, for this point, you just see when it is a diluent fluid, the shear stress is very low. Shear stress is available here only. But whereas when it is a pseudoplastic behavior, it has shown very high stress. That is, shear stress is very high in this pseudoplastic. Pseudoplastic, the shear stress behavior is very high. And when we talk about the other type of fluids, so initially, see, although in the rate of shear, initially, when at the zero velocity gradient only, the shear stress has risen like anything, and it has reached to this point, and after that one only, the velocity gradient is resulting. So that means initially what has happened? The velocity gradient is not at all shown. The velocity gradient, it is maintained du by dy is equal to 0, 0, 0. So that means it is not at all allowing that particular fluid to move on the surface. It is not at all allowing that particular fluid to move onto the surface. After a certain time only, it has allowed and it has shown the behavior of the fluids. Now you may question me, sir, what exactly these non-Newtonian fluids applications are, or what are the examples for the Newtonian fluids? Can anyone tell me Newtonian fluids examples? Where the shear stress is directly proportional to the shear strain or the velocity gradient?
Water, diesel.
Okay, very good. Water, diesel, kerosene, right? These are all Newtonian fluid examples. Non-Newtonian fluid is available in your day-to-day lives. One example from your day-to-day lives, non-Newtonian fluid.
Cornstarch and water.
Water is a Newtonian or non-Newtonian?
Cornstarch and water.
Starch and water.
Paint.
Okay, good. Any other, please? Toothpaste. Is it? So toothpaste is also one kind of liquid only, but it doesn't exhibit. So when your flowability is so easy. So the rate of shear, you just apply the shear on it. So will it be easily distorting its shape or easily distorting its surface? No, it will try to resist initially and slowly it will start shearing them. Then it can be categorized under the diluent fluids. And when we are going for the lubricant properties, we see that the fluid should be non-Newtonian. At the same time, the fluid should be plastic type. The fluid should be plastic type because they should not exhibit the shear so easily. Your shear is so easily exhibiting, so that means here the oil will be spilled out easily, right? So that is the reason. So here Bingham plastics are overcoming the small shear but easily undergo for the large shear stresses. So large shear stress is your requirement means Bingham plastic, or little bit shear stress it has to exhibit means it has to overcome means that is pseudoplastic. So no shear at all. The shear is not requirement, but it has to displace the fluid anyway. It has to displace the fluid on the surface. Then we have to go for the diluent fluid. Okay, so here you can see. So the viscosity as a property of the fluid and the Newtonian and the non-Newtonian fluids examples. So here you can see. So when the solid particle is being placed inside or suddenly fallen into the viscous fluids and highly viscous fluids and low viscous fluids, how the difference is going to happen in that. So here on the animations you can see clearly, make it out that difference happening in between that. Here that difference is happening in it, right? So we can clearly picture us what exactly the property of the viscosity here in this. Here we can clearly see what is the property of the viscosity is being behaving in this one. Okay. So here we can see how the viscosity is behaving, right? So here you can see on the first image. So there is some. So when it is a highly viscous fluid, so that solid got immersed into it, and when it is a very less viscous fluid, the splash has been coming out from that particular fluid. And in the second animation we can see when the fluid is being transferred from one flask to the other flask, the flowability, so that means there are very less viscous in nature. And to talk about the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids, this is the best example. In the second visualization we can see that is the best example for the Newtonian fluids, where they are easily transferred, so that means the shear stress is directly proportional to the velocity gradient. And in the last animation you can see the person walking on some semi-solid surface, so that it is an example for the non-Newtonian fluids. And the non-Newtonian fluid best example, and in our day-to-day life we are using it, so that is a toothpaste and the grease. These are the best examples for the non-Newtonian fluids, where initially they offer resistance. That means they don't exhibit the shear properties, and after increment of your velocity gradient only, they will exhibit the properties of the shear. So that is the best examples for the non-Newtonian fluids. So the Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids are being exhibited based upon the graphs of the velocity gradient and the shear stress. This is how the best examples it has been demonstrated here in this slide, and you can best utilize this PowerPoint for your understanding, and for your visualization. This has been utilized here in this one. Okay, so